Rockets and Knicks were in Game 5 when O.J. started that fateful drive. His four-way hazard lights were blinking, and no one knew what the Jews was thinking.
I've been to Reno, Chicago, Fargo, Minnesota, Buffalo, Toronto, Winslow, Sarasota, Wichita, Tulsa, Ottawa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Panama, Mattawa, La Paloma, Bangor, Baltimore, Salvador, Amarillo, Tocqueville, Barranquilla, and Padilla, I'm a killer. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Crossed the desert bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere.
This is Oversight Live, your advocate for good governance. We're putting the site back in. Oversight. Here's the watcher on the wall, your host, Ben Carpenter.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Oversight Live. I am Ben Carpenter. Welcome to this episode. It's Wednesday, the 7th of April. Thanks for joining us tonight. Look, let me introduce Oversight Live to you. So Alaskans have a state capital that is down in the Panhandle, and we can only get there by plane and by ferry, by boat. And that means that it's prohibitively expensive in both time and money for most people to go witness their legislature, see what their government is doing, provide oversight. It's more difficult than most Americans. So what Oversight Live is going to do is bring the legislature to you. And we can do that through technology. Most of our meetings that happen in the legislature are broadcast and recorded. And so while not having a road is a major inconvenience for us, it's not an excuse for not knowing what's going on. Not a completely valid one. So since I served in the legislature and have some perspective of what is going on down there and kind of an idea of how to prioritize what we should provide oversight over, I'm going to use that to help filter through the information, the data that exists, the video and the audio and all of that. I'm going to help filter that to what I think is important for us to understand, given, where we're at in the legislature and what's happening, with current events. If you've got questions during this show, chat in your social media app. We're broadcasting on YouTube, X, and Facebook at this time, so you can chat live, and I'll do my best to answer the questions. See, there's Lisa on YouTube. Good evening, Lisa. If you're watching the recording and you've got a question, you can email me, and I will do my best to address that question. The email address is producer@oversightllive.com, and that is something that you can avail yourself of and do if you've got a question or comment. I like feedback as well. If you've got good questions, which, if you've got the question, then it's likely that other people have the question. Don't be surprised if I use it on air here and edify us all by answering the question. So like I said, I served in the legislature. I was there 6 years. I spent 4 years in a minority and 2 years in the majority in the House of Representatives. And that's experience that I want to share. I want people to understand what it's actually like in Juneau, in the legislature. But, there's a perspective and a perception of what it's like, and you don't really know until you go down there. So I'm going to help to the best of my ability, help shape your understanding of the legislature by sharing my experience and perspective. Let's speak about the data for a minute. Much of what I'm showing is available on, if it's a written word, it's akleg.gov, akleg.gov. and that will get you the bills and the committee calendars and all of the associated data that goes with. If I'm showing video, it's likely coming from KTOO, public broadcasting, that is contracted to record and broadcast the ongoing of the legislature. And so I'm going to use some clips and show you the edited portion. And if you want to see the unedited version and go see it for yourself, you can go to the KTOO Gavel, Alaska website, and it's all there and you can watch it. You just don't have me providing commentary and answering questions as you're watching it. So I think there's value there. There's also members, other people that join in with the conversation here and edify each other, right? By answering questions. And again, if you ask a question, somebody else has got it. So we just feed on each other and we have fun, I think, if you enjoy this kind of thing. And I am hopeful that by bringing our government and kind of shrinking it down and making it more manageable and less threatening is not the right word, but less, I don't know, maybe threatening is the word. It's not exactly the word I'm looking for. There's one solid word. Maybe the legislature is intimidating. That's the word that I'm looking for. Much of what happens there is intimidating because we don't know what we don't know. And anyway, I'm hopeful that the community that we're building here through Oversight Live helps people understand that everybody's in the same boat. We all have questions, and the larger the community, the more people that are participating, the more we build rapport and trust with each other. We can answer our own questions and lean on each other. This is ultimately what the goal is here. Grow the pool of people who are participating wisely in our self-government. So we're going to attempt to have some fun. Today, I have, there's at least one committee meeting that I would like to show you, one bill in particular. But what I also want to do is kind of step back and take a look at process for a minute and kind of explain, since this is, we're almost, I was looking at the date again, the 7th. So we're first to second, almost starting the second week of March in the legislature here. I guess, is that accurate? I'll look at the calendar. Yeah, kind of the second week of March. Sorry, April. So you got 3 more weeks in April, and then how many more weeks in May? They're going to be done sometime around the 15th, I think. So we're really at the 5 weeks left, plus this week left in the session. So what is happening? So we've got budget bills that are on the floor in the House that are going to get passed this week, assuming, and then that goes to the Senate. The Senate's going to have to do its thing with the operating budget, and the Senate's got the capital budget, and it'll pass it over to the House, and then the House deals with the capital budget. And then, so all of that's going to happen in the next 5 weeks. Plus, you've got 300 and some bills that are either going to get addressed or going to get forgotten about. So, with 5 or 6 weeks left, where do we stand? I'm gonna take us through that right now and help us understand what's actually happening here behind the scenes. All right. So let me bring this up. Bring you up to speed here. Okay, so what we're looking at now, what I'm going to share is the Alaska Legislature website. You can go to this by akleg.gov, and you can click on the committees link right here. Let me make this bigger so you can see, because I'm a bad host. You need to be able to see this. So if you click on the committees link, actually, it's not a click. You can click on it, or you can hover, and then it comes to another subcategory here, another menu. Click on standing committees, and you get this page. All right, broken down by the House and the Senate, and these are all the committees that are created in the uniform rules. These are standing committees. So each legislature can create other committees, like Ways and Means is not listed on here. A Ways and Means committee was created during the legislatures that I served in, but you don't have to have a Ways and Means. It's not written in the rules, the legislative rules that tell us what committees we have to have. So these are the committees that has to be the standing committees. You can click on the other links up here that tells you what the special committees and other committees are, if you're interested, right? Okay, so I'm just wanting to get to the standing committees because what I really want to get to, I want to show you are the rules committees right now. So what is the rules committee? Well, the rules committee deals with rules of the floor, rules of the legislature. Rules committee chair assigns offices within the building. Okay, so rules committee is where bills go after they've finished the legislative process, after they've gone through their committees of assignment. The bills all end up in the rules committee, and it is incumbent upon the rules chair to then calendar that bill to be heard on the floor. And that's when the entire body, whether it's the Senate or the House, it works the same way, then the entire body debates that bill, offers amendments, accepts or rejects amendments, and then has an up or down vote of the bill. And then it does something, right? So if it's a House bill, if the House is debating and passing a House bill, then that House bill will travel over to the Senate and go through the legislative process in the Senate, all the way through the committee process and to the Senate floor for an up or down vote. If there is a Senate bill in the House Rules Committee, okay, so you'll see a Senate bill and then a number. If the Senate bill is sitting in the House Rules Committee, that indicates that bill just needs an up or down vote by the House before it goes to the governor for signature, in a general sense, okay? It means that it's almost done with the process. And the same would be true if you're looking at Senate Rules Committee. If there's a House bill in the Senate Rules Committee, it's almost done with the process, okay? If you've got a House bill in the House Rules Committee, it means that it still has to go through the Senate, and we've only got five weeks left, right? Some of the bills you'll see are from 2025. They're sitting in the Rules Committee from 2025. So the question is, why haven't we addressed it yet? Okay, so let's take a look at that and see what we can see. So I just clicked on the House Rules Committee. Okay, so here's your membership of the House Rules Committee. I think I saw the Rules Committee in the 6 years that I served, there was maybe 1 or 2 times that the House Rules Committee met in 6 years. Normally, it does not meet. These are the members. Basically, the House Rules Committee is it's assigned, members are assigned, but the functions of the Rules Committee is basically the Rules Chair. So unless the Rules Chair does something egregious or really gets the ire up of the committee members, it's not, they just do things the way they want to. Okay. Even the chair needs to schedule a meeting. So you would have to really, if the chair didn't want to have a meeting and the members did, it's a conflict in that majority. So this is to say that normal day-to-day operations, the Rules Committee never meets. It doesn't meet. It doesn't need to meet in order for bills to arrive in the committee or depart the committee through a movement to the floor and an up or down vote of the bill. Okay. A debate of the bill. If you click on this link right here, it will tell you where what bills are referred to the Rules Committee. Just out of curiosity, there are meetings scheduled here for this. This is 2025. So was that 5 times there were meetings scheduled for the Rules Committee for this legislature? That's interesting. All right. Bill referrals. All right. So once you click on the bill referrals, which is really what I want to get to here, you can click on some subcategories here: bills of next referral, bills in committee, which is what we're going to look at. If you want to know what bills have already come and gone, then you can click on the bills reported out, and that list is a whole lot smaller. And then if you want to see what all of the bills are, then you can click on the all referrals. So when you click on the bills reported out, you can see what happened once the bill left the House Rules Committee. So there's one House bill, there's a House joint resolution, and 3 Senate bills. And then if you go over here to the current status, if it says chapter 1, chapter something, SLA, that's state law of Alaska. So this bill was passed. We're looking at the House Rules Committee. So this bill, Senate Bill 183, passed both bodies and became law. All 3 of them did. This is a legislative resolve, so that passed both bodies and became law. And HB 69, the veto of the governor, was sustained. So that's the current status of the bills that have passed. That's the only bills that have reported out of, that are being listed as reported out of the Rules Committee. Here are all the bills that are in the House Rules Committee. Interesting, right? So how many bills does the floor session deal with on a daily basis? If you're seeing 1 or 2 bills pop up that they deal with, you got a lot more that you could be doing, right? And all that it takes is for the leadership of the House, and if we look at this Senate Rules Committee, the leadership of the Senate, and namely the Speaker or President and the Rules Chair, to calendar these bills. Okay. So look at the status date over here. And I wish that this thing would order by date, but it's not smart enough to do that. But what I want to point out here is you kind of got to look down here. This bill right here has been there since March of 2025. So it didn't get an up or down vote in the first session of the legislature, and thus far it has not gotten a vote on the second session of the legislative session. There could be reasons for that. Obviously there are reasons for it, but there could be what I would consider legitimate reasons. Maybe the sponsor says, you know what, I don't want to actually pass the bill. I've done the work. It's a House bill, right? So I've done the work. It's not an issue anymore. Please don't calendar it for a meeting or for a up or down vote. That's a possibility. Maybe the sponsor of the bill doesn't have the votes. They went through the committee process. It just doesn't have the votes. Meaning the majority, 21 votes, they haven't gotten it, so they aren't going to calendar a bill unless they know that they've got the votes. So that could be, right? There could be a whole bunch of bills here that are wishes, and they don't really have a chance. Okay, so that's 2025, right? Then there's bills that have dates from 2026, and this is just the status of the bill. Now, what you can do is go and look at the actual bill. If you click on the link to HB 52 and go to the bill itself, you can find out what the status is through the journal entry here on the left side on the main page, okay? The actions tab. This tells you what the last actions of the bill were, okay? So it was referred to rules on the 25th of March of 2026. And it was in finance most recently. Okay, I'm recognizing these names. Finance so these are amendments. It was attempted to be amended, or it was amended. And you can click on those to find out whether they were successful or not. And then it was referred to rules. Okay, so if I click on that, the CS for this bill was adopted, and the report was signed by the co-chairs with individual recommendations, okay? So the bill left finance, with individual recommendations, Representatives Jimmy, Galvin, Tomaszewski, Hannon, Moore, Bynum, Josephson, Foster, and Schrage all said do pass. Representative Stapp said no recommendation. So this indicates to me that there is at least broad support within the Finance Committee, both Republican, Democrat, both minority and majority, for this bill to get an up or down vote on the floor. Okay, that's what it tells me. So the question would be, why hasn't it yet? We're looking at 52. I'm going back to the Rules Committee. We're looking at 52, March 25th. All right, well, that's not too far away. It's realistic, given all of the things that's going on in the legislature, that it's going to take some time before that bill comes forward. But you're looking at bills here's one from the February 10th of 2025 that hasn't been addressed. If you look at that, I'm sorry, I just clicked on the wrong link. I wanted one from 2025 here. So this is reject Compensation Commission recommendations. I'm going to pick a different one. Public schools, mental health education, Representative Galvin. This is a majority member, House majority member. And this bill from May of last year was the last status of this bill. So let's click on HB 105 and find out what we can find out with this. Okay. And I promise there's a point that I'm getting to here. It may not be a very strong point, but okay. So here's everything that's happened with this bill thus far. Again, if this was to become law, it would still have to make it through the Senate committee process in the next 5 weeks. Okay. All right. So this bill originally got sent to Education Committee and Finance in the House. Okay. So likely, but not guaranteed, but likely, if this bill were to pass the House, it would go to the Education Committee and Finance of the Senate. Although it doesn't have to. You most likely could have 2 committee referrals. Now, if you see 3 committee referrals or more, that is the Senate president deciding that he wants to prevent that bill from ever becoming law and just going to send it to 3 or 4 committees, and then it never has time to get to where it needs to go to get passed. Okay. But with 2 committees of referral, that's doable. It's still doable, even though there's 5 weeks to get it through, as long as you had a vote in the House. But anyway, I digress. So this bill again was attempted to be amended in Finance, and then it was referred to rules. I was going to say fools. Rules. Look up here. There is a do pass, do not pass, and no recommendation from the Finance Committee chair. So here you can see that there's a split between the majority, these are the majority Democrats, and the minority Republicans on their recommendations. Okay. If you click on the journal entry, it'll take you to the text version of the journal entry. And then you can see that matches. There's the do pass, the do not pass, and then no recommendation. Okay. So this is a little bit more definitive that there's a split between majority, minority, Democrat, Republican as to the support of the bill. Okay. Now, theoretically, the majority has got their majority. They've got their 21 votes. So the question is, why hasn't this bill moved? It was referred to rules May 16th of 2025. So at the end of the session, basically the first session, and it has gone nowhere. It has not been calendared for a vote this entire session, second session. So the question has got to be, asking why. So this is an act relating to mental health education. Okay. Is it because it's a bad bill and the legislature doesn't want to see it come forward? Or is it because the rules chair doesn't want to see it come forward? Is it because the leadership team doesn't? Okay. There's undoubtedly a reason, and it could be a number of them. All right. Okay. Going back to the Rules Committee, looking at the bills. Okay. Now I'm just going to do a quick scroll and look at committee members. Legislators' bills in Rule Committee. Okay. So you've got Sadler, Representative Sadler, minority member, Story majority. Josephson, 2 by Josephson. Those are majority members. Holland, majority member. Dibert, majority member. Representative Stapps, a minority member. Galvin, Kopp, Foster, Holland, all majority members. This is the owner of the bill is the House Fisheries Committee, so it's a committee bill. Johnson, minority member. Galvin, Hall, Gray, those are all majority members. Moore, Representative Alexi Moore is a minority member. Okay, so I'm just looking. I would say the majority of the bills here are all majority members. Elam, Nelson, those are minority members. Some committee bills, those are going to be majority bills. Oh, and now we're into the Senate bills. So what's pending before the House? And this is another key point to capture. Any Senate bill that's sitting in the Rules Committee right now has made it through the committee process in the House. And that is, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of legislation that the Senate created that is sitting, waiting for an up or down vote in the House. Okay. The majority of all of these indicate these are all bills that the majority members who have the majority on each one of the committees in the legislature have passed through the committee process. Now they're sitting with the rules chair awaiting a vote. So the question is, for these that have been there for months and months or even a year, why has there not been a vote on this? All of the committees passed it out and sent it to the floor, sent it to the Rules Committee for an up or down vote, and it hasn't happened yet. All right. Any guesses? Any guesses as to why that might be? I'll let that hang there for a minute. Okay, so we're going to go back to the standing committees, and we're going to take a look at what the Senate Rules Committee looks like. Okay, same thing. And here's the membership of the committee. The chair is Senator Wielechowski. I didn't point it out specifically, but the chair of the House Rules Committee is Representative Stutes out of Kodiak. Senate president's on it. Finance co-chair. 2 finance co-chairs. So that's that's the operating budget and the capital budget co-chairs of finance, and a minority member, Representative Kronk, also on finance. Okay, so you've got your chair, the Senate president, the finance leaders, and a minority member. I'll get to make a decision. Roughly, the Senate chair does on what bills get calendared for an up or down vote. So here's all of the bills in committee for the Senate. So interestingly enough, here is all of the Senate bills. There's quite a few Senate bills waiting as well. And if you look through the names really quickly of all the Senate bills, they are majority members. Kaufman's a minority member. Majority, committee bill majority, minority, majority. Okay, so again, they're all majority members because the minority bills aren't making it through the committee process. So it's not a surprise to not see them through here, right? What about the House bills? Well, there's almost an equal number as what you see in the House Rules Committee of Senate bills. Okay, so there's a handful of them here, a few more in the Senate. The House has been able to pass more over. Some of these are from 2025. Again, from May of last year, this bill from Representative Schrage has been sitting in Senate rules. It's made it through the Rules Committee process. Sorry, the Senate's committee process, and it's sitting there waiting to become law, right? All of these are waiting to become law if they would just get an up or down vote in the Senate. And then they'd go to the governor for signage or disposition. He could veto them or sign them or let them become law. There's a minority member. There's a minority member. Governor's bills, majority member, majority. Okay, so there's a couple minority bills in here that's, well, I mean, you look at Representative Sadler, he's got a mitosis awareness month. And that is a status date is March 27th of 2026. So Representative Stadler may get his Mitosis Awareness Month bill passed and become law. Woohoo! He'll be able to take that to re-election, won't he? I was able to get a bill passed. Yay. Representative McCabe has got a Port McKenzie and Northern Rail extensions resolution that could get passed, but notice that the last status was 2025. So indications that they're not interested in passing that bill anytime soon, huh? Okay. Let's see here. So we're looking at the Senate. What about the Senate bills that are? So we notified that they were all majority members or mostly majority member bills, right? How many of the majority bills in the Senate rules are of this year versus last year? So that's 50% so far. We're a little bit more this year than last year. Okay, so there's more there of this year's bills than there was last year's bills, but it's really close to the same. And I'm saying bills, I don't mean that in the sense that there's only bills. I'm using the term to encompass both resolutions and bills, but pieces of legislation is what I mean. Okay, so question from Craig is, what percentage of bills considered by the legislature are initiated by lobbyists? What would be your guess? Well, sometimes you actually know. So I don't see any here. Let's back up and I'll show you. Go over to the House rules. Referrals, bills in committee. There's one specifically by request. Where was it? I just saw it by request. Maybe it was, maybe I missed it and it was no, there it is right there. Okay. So Representative Johnson by request. Okay. So this is name state vegetable giant cabbage bill. Okay. Sometimes this is all you can get in the minority, right? Because this is a minority member. You get feel-good legislation. But this, because it says by request, this is to indicate that, yes, Representative Johnson has drafted the legislation, but it's by request. We can click on the bill and kind of learn more about it. So this has got a lot of co-sponsors. So you've got both majority and minority members, mostly minority members, who've signed on to this bill. When it comes out of committee, so it was referred only to state affairs. So it's they didn't want to kill it completely. You got a lot of co-sponsors: DuPass, Vance McCabe, St. Clair, Holland, Himshoot, Story, Carrick. That's pretty much everyone. Let's see if there's anybody that voted against it. Yeah. So there's 7 members voted to pass it, okay, out of committee, but it's sat there since February, okay? I'm just going to answer the question here by letter of support. I am looking for the sponsor statement. There it is. Let's pull this up for a second and let's see if it identifies who is requesting this. No, it does not. It doesn't say. Okay, so this is an example of where you can tell that this is some sort of lobbyist or it doesn't have to necessarily be a lobbyist. It could be a constituent that has requested a particular bill happen, or it could be a group like the Farm Bureau or something like that, right? So there is a possibility this is a lobbyist. There's also a possibility that it's just a constituent. But this isn't necessarily this isn't required for you to as a legislator to put by request. That's just a preference that legislator put forward. So how many of the bills are initiated by a lobbyist? That's a really good question. I would say, and this is just my gut because I don't know. I've never studied this, and I don't know for sure. But my gut would say it's less than 50%. It may be 25%. The reason is because the legislators are. Well, let me back up and answer this a different way. Yes, the lobbyists want to get things done. There are fewer lobbyists than there are legislators. There's more bills than there are lobbyists. So the math in my head says lobbyists are going to have to focus their time and energy on those things that they really need to get done through the legislative process. And that means they have to compete with all of the other bills that are out there. So it would be in their own self-interest to limit the number of bills that they're putting forward to those that are absolutely necessary. Many of these bills are all constituent outreach bills, right? They got no hope of passing. They've got very limited support in the legislature as far as a priority is concerned. And they're there for the legislator to be able to go back to the district and say, hey, well, I created this bill and we didn't have enough time. There wasn't enough energy. We didn't have enough support, whatever. So I'm thinking really quickly to see if I can answer the question any better than that, or more definitive, but I don't think there's any way to tell by the data that we have here whether the bill is requested by a lobbyist. And I would guess that most of the bills that are here are not lobbyist bills, although a lobbyist might be supporting a handful of them. I can show you, let me see if I can find one that I know is a lobbyist bill, and we'll be able to take a look at it. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to find this. Nothing there. Let me jump out real quick, trying to answer your question the best that I can here. And we're going to look at the bill referrals in the Senate. No. Okay. That's not helping. Not helpful. So that's the best that I can do with that answer, Craig. I don't think that I think that most of the bills are legislator-driven bills, not lobbyist bills, but there are definitely bills there that are lobbyist. Trying to have fun here. How many bills make it to the paper shredder, like that cabbage bill should? Most of these bills are not going to get an up or down vote, or especially most of them not going to get an up or down vote in both bodies, the Senate and the House. Most of them are going to get the paper shredder. And you can check and see this just out of curiosity here. All the way up at the top here, you can click on a different legislature. So we just go here to the 33rd legislature, 2023, 2024. It's going to look dark because they don't want you to mistake it for a current bill or a current legislature, current committee. So these are all the bills. And look at the date over here. These are past years. Okay. These are all the bills that are were in the Senate Rules Committee when the legislature ended. Okay. Looks to be about, now there's a little bit more House bills in there, but not many more. And not really many more of the Senate bills. So it's about the same number as what is currently in. But you can tell here because these are Senate bills that they never got an up or down vote in the Senate, right? These are House bills that never got These are one vote away from going to the governor. And they failed. They just didn't make it to the floor for a vote. You gotta ask yourself why didn't they get an up or down vote? I mean, you can go back even let's see, that was the 33rd legislature. Just out of curiosity, I want to jump over to the House. House rules. This ought to be interesting. Now let's look at the 33rd legislature. This is the Republican legislature. So these are all the Republicans that are the majority members. And what did we do? Yeah, those are all the bills that were in the House Rules Committee when the legislature ended. These are all the Senate bills that could have become law that didn't. So maybe we stopped some things that shouldn't have gone through, or maybe we failed to get something done that should have been done. I mean, we can look at each one of these to figure out what they are, but yeah, I mean, it's water under the bridge, right? Point is, there's bills from 2023 that in 2024 didn't get addressed. Medicare reimbursement, Senator Giesel's bill, didn't go anywhere with the House. Okay, so this is business as usual. Business as usual. So I want to look at the 34th legislature now. All right. Bill referrals. So these are in committee. Now, bills reported out. I should have stayed with the 33rd legislature. Let me go here and go House Rules Committee, referral out, bills reported out. Okay. Senator Kawasaki, Senator Bjorkman, Senator Dunbar, Senator Hoffman, Senator Merrick, Senator Dunbar again, all had Senate bills reported out of the Rules Committee for an up or down vote, and they turned into law, except for Senator Hoffman's bill regarding internet. That was vetoed, and the veto was sustained. These other two bills up here were returned to the House Rules, and the others became law. So that's those are the bills that were reported out of that in the past legislature. So the point that I'm trying to get at is you've got there is a reason why we hold on to bills at the very end of the legislative session. You're going to see a flurry of bills start moving. I'm going to check here. I was about to answer the question before looking at my guess is a lot of the education bills have strong lobbyist involvement. Yeah, I agree with you, Craig. Okay, so I don't see any answers. All right, so what happens at the end of the legislative session is there's a flurry of bills that start moving. Things start moving really quickly. Many times, bills start moving when people need support for things. So one of the reasons, and this is the inside baseball, it's the thing that people are never going to publicly admit, right? Especially the leaders are not going to publicly admit this. One of the reasons that you don't hurry to pass bills between March and the end of the session, May, basically, first or second week of May, why you don't hurry to get these bills passed and moving, especially if they're a bill that's made it through the committee process of both houses, is because it's a piece of leverage. So you don't know mid-session what's going to happen with the budget bill. You don't know what's going to happen with other pieces of priority legislation and whose support you're going to need. And so the strategy for the leadership is to hold all the bills and don't pass them necessarily. If somebody doesn't play ball, and this is in your own majority, if somebody's not going to play ball, then they don't get their bill passed. They don't get an up or down vote. If a vote's needed, then a bill can get calendared for an up or down vote, assuming that the needed vote gets voted. Okay, so it's a form of currency that the strategic leader says is in our best interest to hold these bills until they have more demand, until there's a strategic reason for why we pass it through. Okay. There's also the fact that the rules chair maybe just doesn't like the bill or doesn't like the legislator or doesn't want to pass the bill, and they just hold it and and they're not going to do it. It could just be not a priority for the leadership team and they made a decision. There's a number of different reasons, but as you watch the session progress, and this happened every single time I was in the legislature, you saw bills start to, it even got so bad one session, if you remember this, that it's past midnight and the session is over per the Constitution, and we're still passing bills. People are getting up on the floor and demanding that they have their bill passed. Okay. Those are all, those all got challenged, right? It was nonsense because the legislative session is over by Constitution, but we still continued to pass these bills. It was nonsense. Okay, so that's the reason that I think strategically that's a large reason why you see bills that aren't moving right now, is because they're being held as political capital for getting done with the work that we need to get done. And then you'll see some start to move towards the end of the session. It is also equally true that there's probably some philosophical differences, and rules chair or majority members don't want to see a particular vote come through. I mean, there's going to be politicking within the majority caucus for somebody who doesn't want to have to vote on a particular bill. Maybe it's a sensitive topic in their district or sensitive topic overall, or especially in an election year. And they're like, you know what? We don't want to vote on this. This is something that is going to make us look bad. So let's not vote on this bill. And so it just gets held, doesn't move forward. So that's going on in the legislature right now. Okay. Let me jump really quickly over to a different topic. Okay, so stop sharing this and start sharing this other thing. Make this easier on myself. Okay, we're going to look at the Senate Community and Regional Affairs Committee on Senate Bill 250. I'm at risk of making a big deal out of nothing because it's a Senate bill. There's 5 weeks left. It's going to be hard pressed for this to get through the committee process, but I want to make a point here of let's get it going here because you can't see what I'm seeing. All right. Let me make this bigger. Okay. This is a data center bill, and we'll take a look at the bill in a minute, but the staff member is going to go through the sectional analysis and tell us what this bill does. Okay, so this is interesting.
Again, my name is Louis Flora, staff to Senator Lukey Gale Tobin, and this is just a brief PowerPoint on Senate Bill 250, data centers on Alaska terms. So the argument for why the bill is needed now is that nationwide the U.S. electrical demand for data centers is exploding. It's one of the fastest growing sectors of energy use in the nation, and so there has been a lot of backlash against some of the reliability issues and some of the impacts of the data centers in the lower 48. And so we want to get out ahead of that in order to incentivize economic development on our terms. And we do believe
that's an interesting concept as you continue to hear this. Economic growth on our terms. So we don't want all economic growth. We only want it on our terms, says a leftist.
we have a real opportunity with data centers. We have a lot of renewable energy potential. As everyone knows, we're, sit at the forefront of renewable energy production, likely in the nation. But right now we have a peak load on the rail belt of 750 megawatts, and a single hyperscale facility can demand about 100 megawatt minimum. So we're, and they're variable in size, obviously, but some of the hyperscale ones are really what have been problematic in the lower 48. And the biggest risk we're really trying to identify is the spikes in power, cost shifting, and consumers having to pay the cost to subsidize some of the energy use there. And we just think the large load consumers require a fundamentally different regulatory framework than households and small businesses that are now covered under the current Regulatory Commission of Alaska framework. And so we need to adapt to what is a new business in the state and a new source of energy use. So the real core tenets of Senate Bill 250 is that the data center pays its own way, and there's a but-for cost rule where the data center cannot be rolled into the costs that would not exist but for the data center cannot be rolled into the general utility rates. And we have it going through a commission-reviewed contract at the Regulatory Commission before they can begin, and direct cost assignment, infrastructure costs and variable power costs and gas costs are directly assigned to the data center. And then we have an explicit rate firewall. So a service to a data center is explicitly prohibited from increasing cost of power or gas cost adjustments for other consumers. And why is that important now? Because the Alaska-specific fuel and reliability risks, we're all fairly aware that we're entering a gas shortage time in our history. And so we want to be able to protect the fuel supply. And we want to have bar contracts that increase the risk of inadequate fuel supply for any other utility in the state, protecting homes and businesses. And then, of course, with the backup power plans, they must prioritize renewable energy storage and demand response. And that's important because the renewable energy uses, you look to data centers to increase the uptake of renewables in Alaska, which can benefit the rail belt in the long run. And another heart of the bill is the protection for communities. And you can see in this graphic here, we're putting a community benefit agreement into place that communities would then enter into the benefit agreement with the utility, with the data center prior to data center moving forward. And so the community would identify all the risks that they want to cover in that community benefit agreement. And largely, waste heat recovery is one thing that we discussed as kind of a unique model of, subsidizing or potentially creating district heat programs for communities. And then Senator Tobin really was interested in broadband interconnection and creating digital equity, so that areas underserved by broadband would be a consideration for the data center community.
With all of the broadband money that's flowing in, federal money, there shouldn't be any underserved communities after that money is spent. But I digress.
Community benefit agreement.
Senator Dunbar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I apologize that this is spelled out clearly in the bill. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet. But if a community benefit agreement can't be reached with a locality, whether, maybe they're a small city government, they don't have the people, or maybe there's some kind of sticking point, does it default to sort of the data center's position or to them not being able to go forward?
Through the chair, Senator Dunbar, this is Louis Flora, staff to Senator Lukey Tobin. And my understanding of the language is it would be worked out contractually, but there is no, it's not spelled out in the legislation whether it would default to either position.
Follow up, Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Dunbar.
I think then, and this might be what Senator Tobin is indicating, then if they couldn't reach an agreement, then it would be as if there is no agreement in place. There'd be no legal restrictions on the data center from that particular section. Is that correct? I mean, other than the other ones from the bill.
For the record, Lukey Tobin, Senate District I think if you look on page 3, starting on line 20, there is a possible dynamic that if an agreement is not reached and the entity continues to pursue a data center, there is legal recourse for the municipality to stop development or action by that particular producer or that particular contractor or that particular developer of the data center.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, you said it was page 3.
Starting on line 20 to line 24.
Okay. So they could get an injunction for not reaching the data center. Is there any, so are there protections for the data centers of the companies themselves? If you have a particular, let's say you just have a wealthy community that just as opposed to development, classic kind of NIMBY stuff. And that's not what most folks are. But let's say you did have that. What recourse or appeal is there for the data center? They can get it, so they can seek an injunction. Is there any way that the data center can demonstrate that that their project isn't going to be harmful, but the community is sort of just opposing it for
political reasons?
They don't like the way it looks in their community or whatever.
For the record, Lukey Tobin, Senate District I, through the chair, Senator Dunbar, I think this gets into some dynamics around local control and states' rights dynamic of where we have the ability or choice to determine what should be within our community space. And there are many dynamics of home rule and first-class borough powers that I am unaware of when it comes to if and when a community wants a particular entity. The first thing I think of is like bottle shops or alcohol stores. There are rules within our state that prohibit a particular alcohol entity from just arriving in a community and making a bar if the community does not want that. And we call those dry and wet communities, and we give those powers to local decision makers. So I think this would fall in a very similar dynamic. If local decision makers do not want a data center, they have within their right to decide not to have that.
So this is interesting. What a dynamic that you as a legislator are going to have to make if this bill comes up before you, right? So there's real world concerns about data centers where they crop up and you don't have enough power, and or because they use a lot of power, new power generation is created, and if it's not done correctly, then ratepayers see their bills go up because costs are being socialized. That's the theory that's being addressed within this bill. So that's either true or it's just a solution searching for a problem. Okay. There's been, I've seen news articles and people writing about water shortages and negative consequences of having data centers, large data centers in suburbs and next to residential areas and that type of thing. So there is, as this is new, right? Data centers are new, and we don't have the statutes and the laws figured out yet for something that's new. Our legislature has a bill here that probably is not going to make it through the entire session, entire legislature because of the time here. But this is an example of how government looks at a problem and says, hey, we're going to have to find solutions to protect ourselves. And you're witnessing the creation of red tape right now. This is government law, government, and soon to be followed by government regulation if it's implemented on how data centers can get created, how that industry can be created in the state of Alaska. So on one hand, you've got potentially legitimate community interests. And on the other hand, you've got a solution that says, you know what? The local community can just put an injunction. The borough can put in an injunction and stop this project from happening. And that would be in state law. If you're a data center company, I don't know what it says in other state statutes, but that sounds like a really great risk that I might not want to take coming to Alaska and putting things forward. It definitely is sending up the flag that says, hey, we're open for business, but we're only open for business the way we want to do it. If you come in, you're going to have to abide by all of this red tape and all of these rules and all of this. Okay, so here's what the legislator has to make the decision. What do I support? Do I put forward legislation and support legislation that has the potential to stymie economic development, but go back to my constituents and say, hey, I protected you. I protected you from all of the evils that could come from economic development. That's what you're going to have to decide. I myself, I'm not too concerned about it. I think that the market works itself out. And I don't think that this type of government regulation is going to be necessary myself. But I'm not in the legislature anymore, and I don't have to make those hard decisions. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I doubt that bill moves forward, but you can see how one political perspective is attempting to address this situation before we have an issue with data centers cropping up in our state. The reality is a data center cannot just plop down on our grid and do business because we don't generate enough energy for them to do that. They're going to have to figure out some alternative energy source. Like they're going to have to create their own energy source in order to make that data system work, that data center work, right? So they're going to have to put in a coal-fired plant, or they're going to have to put in a gas plant, or they're going to have to put in a hydro plant or a nuclear plant, or they'll have to do something to create the energy that's necessary for them to do business, because our grid and our current generation can't sustain them. Okay. What if this legislation says, well, the only thing that you can put in is renewable energy. We don't want coal plants, and we don't want more natural gas plants. We don't want any carbon plants. What we want is renewable. Okay. Well, now you're limited to only a couple of things. Windmill, solar. We don't have any realistic geothermal at this point anyway. It's not that I'm opposed to that. There's not any being developed, or it's at least not to scale at this point. Nuclear's potential option, but I mean, which community is going to want to have a nuclear power plant show up in their community? I mean, you see the political implications here. You're basically saying, we only want this industry, we only want this economic development if you buy into this global warming, man-made global warming crisis mode that we're in, and you got to have this renewable energy. What if that's what the bill ends up? Then you basically are saying we don't want data centers in Alaska, because you're not going to get reliable energy from solar and wind. So my gut tells me that this bill, if it was to go forward, is a wet blanket on data centers in Alaska. That's what I think it. That's what I think it is. Craig has got a comment here. Craig says, Senator Sullivan just announced $600 million of federal funding for broadband internet, in addition to the hundreds of millions billions of dollars that came into the state. $3 billion. Not all of it was spendable by the legislature. There was direct payment to tribes in Alaska. Total of $3 billion. Okay. This is, and I saw this a headline, and I didn't click on the article and didn't read it. So it's interesting you're bringing this up. Yeah, so there's more money being spent on federal money being earmarked into the state of Alaska for broadband. I saw that. Yeah. You'll take a backyard nuke. I would too. I think the micronuclear facility that they're developing, I think has got great promise. I'm also interested in the energy, and this is probably a decade or more away, but what's happening down in, I think it's Washington State, with the new nuclear fusion plant concept, where they're able to create the fusion reaction, and they don't sustain it for very long. They sustain it just long enough to generate a massive amount of heat. And then that heat is captured and facilitates more electrical generation through steam or through some other means. But it's not a consistent, sustained nuclear fusion reaction. It's a momentary reaction that produces. Anyway, it's an interesting story. I don't remember the name of the company, but it sounds promising for the future, but it's not something that we have right now. And I don't necessarily, I mean, it's renewable. It's not fossil fuel, at least. Great promise. And if you ask me, it's not something that's going to be super dangerous or produce hazardous waste afterwards. So, next generation or two might have great energy sources that we currently don't have. The market is going to figure that out. At the point that all of the new technologies actually work, and they work without government subsidies, the market is going to reward that. Wind and solar require federal subsidies in order to be financially feasible, and they're not reliable. So data centers in Alaska are not going to put in solar, and they're not going to put in wind to scale to get them hundreds of megawatts to a gigawatt of power. They're just not going to do that. So you're going to get a coal plant. You're going to get a natural gas plant. Those are reliable. If they could get the permitting done to get any of that done in a decade, good luck. Same thing with a hydro plant. If they could get the Watana Dam built, then there'd be enough power there for a data center. But it's going to take forever to get a permit done. Anyway, well, that's what I wanted to show you tonight. I'm looking and not seeing a lot of questions here, and I think I covered any of the questions that I saw earlier. Somebody asked me about lobbyists. Who's the most powerful lobbyist? Whom is the most powerful lobbyist? Lisa asked. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I didn't spend a lot of time with lobbyists, to be perfectly blunt. I know who moves around the building a lot. I know who I recognize, but I don't know how to judge who's the most powerful. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. I just don't have the experience to know. I didn't hang out with lobbyists. Sorry. You're going to have to ask Senator Bjorkman or Senator Giesel. Ask them. Who's the most powerful lobbyist? Okay. All right. Thanks for hanging with me tonight and your questions. We'll be back again. Actually, tomorrow is Thursday. I will not be on air tomorrow night. I have a meeting in the evening that I need to attend, so I will not be here. But we'll be back on Friday. Actually, what am I saying? Today's Tuesday. I'm sorry. I'm a day ahead. Tomorrow is Wednesday. We will be here tomorrow. We will not be here Thursday. If you want to support the show, go to our website, OversightLIVE.com, and click on the support link, the donate link, and do your thing. Would really appreciate your support. Okay. Oh, somebody's asking. Lisa's asking about the baby calf. She's actually yelling at me. No baby calf yet, but I'm being told that all of the signs are there that the labor should be starting anytime soon. So I'll keep you updated. Maybe I'll show a picture or something when it happens, but it should be happening soon. So sorry to tease you. We thought it was going to happen this weekend, but it didn't. And that's fine because it would be better for everyone, calf involved, that the weather warm up just a little bit. So, yeah, anyway, no calf yet. Thanks for asking. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow night. Adios.